Hello and welcome to Missed Checkpoints, the Video Game Book Club podcast. Today we're doing a bonus cast, and joining me is the homie Trevor. What's up, man?
What's going on?
We're a little late on this, so just a smidge, but it's all good. We're gonna try to do something a little bit different for the main show, so we wanted to get a bonus cast out to kind of fill in the gap. So for this bonus cast, me and Trevor decided to play Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yeah.
So, I guess it was, we kind of both just agreed on it, but since it was more so my choice, it's been something that I wanted to play, been putting on, my own personal list for a couple times. So I was like, hey, we can just do it in a bonus cast. It's pretty short. So Trevor decided, hey, I'll play it too. So let's get into it. So, Doki Doki Literature Club is a 2017 American visual novel developed by Team Salvato for Windows, Mac, and Linux. The game was developed over a 2-year period and was led by Dan Salvato, who was previously known for his modding work for Super Smash Bros. Melee. I did my own half-assed internet research, and I found that not only was he a dev for 20XX Tournament Edition, but also Project M. And he also competed in tournaments, and he was one of the best links in both Melee and Project M, and was known for his technical play. He went by the tag Internet Explorer, so you can look him up if you ever want to watch some Link play and some Melee.
That's pretty tight.
It is, right? According to Salvato, the inspiration for Doki was his mixed feelings towards anime, which I can relate to, and a fascination for surreal and unsettling experiences. The game was released September 22nd of 2017, and the story follows a male high school student who joins the school's literature club and interacts with its 4 female members. The game features a mostly linear story with some alternate scenes and endings depending on the choices the player makes. While first appearing as a lighthearted dating sim, it slowly evolves into a psychological horror game that heavily involves breaking the fourth wall, and not for the faint of heart. It also includes suicide, self-harm, mentions of depression, and graphic images of death. And upon its release, Doki Doki received critical praise for its metaphysical. Let me start that over. Upon its release, Doki Doki received critical praise for its metafictional and horror elements.
I don't think
PC
I've played
Gamer
it.
Called it one of the most surprising games of the year.
Well,
so
yeah.
That is our intro to Doki Doki, and let me kick it off to you first, Trevor. Obviously, do you have any experience with visual novels?
I'm looking at some popular ones that I may have played. No, I don't think I have.
We've definitely played one. I think Phoenix Wright would be considered a visual novel, but I think that is the only thing that would even come close for anything we've played for the show. That is, I know that another game that me and you have been, I think both of us want to play is Dream Daddy, and that's another visual novel. But this is, I know for me, especially my lack of interest in anime has kind of dissuaded me from
at all these games,
getting into this genre, because I've just been like, oh, it's anime stuff. But
whereas it doesn't seem like it needs to be.
Visual novels on my list
just
in the
happens
past,
to be the
but they just never gotten through. I guess there hasn't been enough interest for the particular games that I've chosen. But it is a genre that I am interested in, I guess, looking into. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I think, it may not be like soup, because there is gameplay involved, and it's like. But I was gonna say, Papers, Please may be like the closest thing I've ever played to a visual novel, and even that isn't not really like. There's more gameplay involved in that than this. And obviously, Phoenix Wright, there's a lot of dialogue.
The only thing,
I don't know,
research or anything,
it's just different. It's not a genre that I'm well versed in, but it's something that I'm looking at getting into.
I know Patrick Klepek was a a big fan of this game.
So yeah, let's get going on to this game. So did you going in?
That,
did you do any research or look up?
Just hearing him talk about it, he didn't spoil anything
about
the game. But it made me want to play it. And then after playing Phoenix Wright, I was just like, you know what? Yeah, I would give this game a try. But other than that, no, I didn't know anything else about this game.
Mm-hmm.
No, because looking at how they describe the genre, it's text-based story, and then it has interactivity aided by static sprite-based
I don't know,
visuals. And Catherine
has
like
a
full
visual
3D
novel in
visuals.
a sense.
So,
because you're watching cutscenes. Mm-hmm. That's true. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I actually, I didn't even think about that. I do think I remember Patrick talking about, not this game, but I know I think me and Patrick are kind of the same, where we don't really have an affinity for anime, but I know he's way more into horror games. Like that's one of his, I think he has a horror horror movie podcast that he does. And so it doesn't surprise me that this is a game that he played, because it kind of is like he's super hardcore against anime on Twitter, but then also the horror elements. It's like a plus and a con, or a pro and a con for him.
People who are easily...
For myself, I didn't do any research on the game. I didn't know that it was going to be horror or anything. Like, I didn't know how far it was going to go. Like, I think when we boot the game up, it has, like, the warnings, this game isn't for the faint of heart. What did it say? Like, this game isn't... Yeah, sensitive to this material or easily disturbed or something.
Just like,
it's not recommended
just
for children
because
or
of
people that
that
are
disclaimer. Because I think when you first start the game, it gives you that disclaimer. So like you get that twice.
Warning, but then like the game's
and
like
when
the
it does start playing that music,
just like the whole aesthetic of the game is super cheery.
It's almost like
it's really.
Like when you're watching like a scary movie or something,
what could possibly
it could be like at a carnival or something like that. It's playing all the happy carnival
turn
music
people away
and the rides are going, and that's kind of how it feels in there. And I'm expecting, okay, when is the carnival music gonna drop down a couple of octaves and start giving me that horror feel? Yeah.
Right, and it does happen, right? Which is like the craziest part. It takes a little bit, but it does happen. So I mean, even like the opening scene, I think you meet your neighbor / your next door neighbor or person that lives in your neighbor and friend Sayori, and she's like this cutesy anime girl, and I mean, like literally it's 5 characters in this game. It's you, which you never see your character, and then the 4 classmates or club members you have. So like the whole, like, I guess start of the story is you meet up with your neighbor. You guys have known each other, you grew up together. She seems pretty ditzy, I guess you could say, pretty clumsy and disorganized, and you kind of like are there to provide order in her life and everything. And so you guys walk to school together, and she's like asking you, she's like, what club are you going to join? And I guess you had at some point previously mentioned that you were going to join a school club. So then she after class she runs it by you that, hey, you can join my club, or you can at least come visit it, and it's a literature club. So, I mean, she takes you to the club, and that's where you meet the other 3 characters. So it's Sayori is your neighbor / friend, your introduction to this club. The club president is Monica. The club vice president is Yuri. And the other club member is Natsuki. And so those are the 4 club members, and they each have their own unique appearance and personality, and at this point it you start to see these girls' personalities come out. So, like I said, Sayori is the super talkative and cheery girl.
She
Monica,
almost seems
you
like
make you
the
mention
popular girl
to
in school
yourself. Your
too,
character does a
because I
lot
think
of
at
in
one
his
point in the
head
game it mentions how
monologuing to himself, and
like he
he's
noticed her from
saying like, "Oh, this
class or
girl,
something like
she's like
that, and
super
everybody
smart.
else
She's like
knows
pretty
her.
athletic.
Yeah,
Like kind of like he has like a crush on her, and she seems really calm and collected, and
because I think they said
yeah,
she had another
exactly.
club, or that she was like in other clubs, but then she decided she didn't want to do it, and she started her own club, which is basically the literature club.
She's like the center of attention. And then yeah, like the thing too was that she was like pretty confident and like just like the cool girl, and he was just so. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's about right.
Yeah, and then so
I
she's
mean,
the
you're looking for
president, and then the vice
an
president is
example.
Yuri, which she is like this really shy and
Oh
super
yeah,
intelligent
she blossomed that
girl
summer.
that how would you describe her? She's really, really like passive and really shy, and I'm trying
Yeah,
to
I
think
think they
of
mentioned she's like a first year or something.
some. Nah, just like she's more physically developed than the other girls. Yeah. And then you have Nitsuki, who is she's like the smallest girl. I think she's like younger. She's yeah, and um she's very feisty. She's very blunt and cranky, and but she has like a softer side where she is she's into anime and mangas, and so you have to like crack her hard exterior to kind of get on her good side. And she's like really this manga that she's been reading has gotten her into baking, so she does all the baking for the club. And I'm on the wiki, and it says Sayori is portrayed as the archetype of Genki girl, which I'm not an anime person, but it's like the I looked it up, and it's like a super energetic, enthusiastic girl, and it's usually depicted by like as a schoolgirl. So that fits. And then it says for Natsuki that she is the embodiment of tsundere. I don't know how to say that. But it's describes a person who's initially cold or sometimes hostile, and before gradually becoming warmer, friendlier. Um, so yeah, that's like the read on the girls, and
Yeah,
it becomes apparent just because you're the only guy in this club,
and
and
like while I was
these are
playing this,
these
I'm just waiting
girls.
for like
They
the
start
anime
vying
trope
for your
where
attention, and like
like
everybody
a guy
kind of wants
sees a
to.
bunch of beautiful girls
I
or
don't want to say
something like
have
that, and he
one-on-one time
immediately
with
gets a
you, but get your
nosebleed.
attention and like kind of
But
charm
they
you,
don't take
and
it
it
that far in
becomes
this
like
game, so
a dating sim at that point, right? Like a lighthearted, like softcore dating sim.
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, they take it other places though. It's just damn near. It's just I think they didn't want to show your character because I mean, there's these girls are
Put a
very
piece of
naive.
chocolate
Let's
in her
put it like
mouth.
that. Or it's just like um, you're reading a book with the girl, and like you decide, oh well, we can't read it this way. We need to sit closer together. So then you're like basically have your arm around her, and she's holding one side of the book, you're holding the other side. She flips the pages, our thumbs touch, and then she blushes, and then things like that. So yeah, it goes places. It goes places. So it's a lot of high school uh, awkwardness, I guess you could say. Mostly from the girls. Like your character, he just seems like, hey, I ain't new to this. But then the girls are like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Like I don't know what got over me. Things like that. Um, But yeah, like this I guess the game, it doesn't really play out in days, but that's kind of how it ends up. Like we can kind of talk about it. So like the first day is like you meeting the club, and Natsuki has made some cupcakes, and everybody's complimenting her saying these are amazing and blah blah this, and everybody is like kind of getting to know you, and you're not really sure if you want to be in the club yet. And at the very end, when it's leaving, everybody's like, hey, like we should, share poems with each other. We should like write poems and bring them to the club the next day. And you're like, well, I'm not even officially in this club yet. Like I just was just visiting, and then you just see all four girls lined up having these pathetic looks on their face, like, oh, you're gonna ditch us and all this cuteness. And obviously you're like, well, I guess I can come for one more day. And then they're all like hugging you and happy, and it's just like, here we go. Here's where it gets anime.
Oh yeah.
Well, 5. Yeah. Yeah, so then the day ends, and you walk Sayori home, and you guys are talking about the club, and she's really happy you join. And then you guys go your separate ways, and then that starts up the actual first time you get to do anything. Because I mean, at this point, I don't know, like what, 40 minutes? Maybe 30 minutes? Yeah, where it's just you're not doing anything but clicking through dialogue. And don't get me wrong, it's interesting. It's world building out the characters, but you really haven't played anything, done anything. So now you get this little, I guess you could say, mini game that happens at the end of the day, where you see these small avatars to represent the 3 girls. So Monika's not on here, but Sayori, Natsuki, and Yuri. And the game basically has 20 questions, and there's about 8 words that are displayed, and you have to choose one. And the word you choose is most associated with the character. So you learn that first day, you learn a little bit talking to the girls about their interests. So you learn that, Natsuki is really into cutesy, like girly girl kind of things. And she's a little bit less mature than the other girls. So like words like bubbles or kittens or candy or rainbow, like if you click that word, then her character jumps up. And like basically, I guess the gist of this mini game is there's 20 questions, and you are essentially choosing the girl that you want to pursue, impress. Yeah. So this is like how the dating sim part comes, where this is kind of how you kind of influence the girl that you want to,
the long words,
start a more serious relationship with.
Yeah.
And then with Yuri, she told you she's really into fiction, like adventures, dark things, mystery. She has She's just really into adventure. So words like ultraviolet or adventure or landscape or things that exactly, or even things that are emotional too, like aggravated or grief or sadness, those type of words as well. And then with Sayori, she's kind of like the more cheery, like I said, enthusiastic, positive girl. So anything that has like super positive connotations, like excitement,
I'm sure it's
dance, or cheer, or beauty, or those type of words, happiness. Those are the words.
I mean, it's spelled that way.
Her
but
character gets excited
from
about.
the anime that I've watched.
After this first one, do you remember who you chose, Trevor, or who you were aiming towards? Natsuki.
I know you just got into anime, man. So you might have. I was gonna pick her at first, but then
okay, I believe you. I believe you. I thought it was Natsuki,
and I was like,
nah, you're probably right.
I'm gonna pick one of the older girls.
Okay, I'll
Yuri.
believe you then. My bad. I'm not trying to clown on you. I don't know.
It was mostly because
I'm acting like I'm at the
she seemed cool, and like like she was into like fantasy and stuff like that, so and stuff with like really deep meaning. So I figured, why not go for something, something like that.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I initially went for Yuri, and I kind of was thinking like, oh, she's like more mature, and like, it won't. I was thinking it wouldn't get weird anime with her, like it would with the other two girls. And as I was getting further and further down that path, then I just like, oh, she's kind of awkward and weird, and luckily or whatever, my power went out at my house, and so I lost my progress. So I had to start the game over, and I think I was like, I'll just play, tomorrow or whatever. And I remember asking if you had played, and you said you went for her, and I had seen a little bit of it, and I was just like, you know what, like just to be different than you, let me choose somebody else. And I'm not upset that I did, because like I said, I had seen a little bit down her path, and I wouldn't have kept pursuing her. So then I started going for Natsuki, and I kind of went with her just because I wanted to see how. I mean, she baked, and I like food, so I was like, I want to see where that goes. And then also just like she was into anime, and I was like, maybe she's into video games too, or something like that. So I was like, maybe she has that thing in common with me or whatever. So I started going down that route. And then so like the next day when you show up, you get that one-on-one time with whatever girl you chose. So you do that, and it gets a little heated and weird. I guess I know with Natsuki, she's like, you're reading anime with her, like a manga or something on the floor. You guys are just sitting right up beside each other. Your knees are touching. It's really scandalous. And she ends up like, I think she has her manga collection at the school, in the school in that closet of that classroom, because her dad doesn't like her reading it.
Yeah, she ends up,
she's like lends you the anime so you can finish it.
Like
and
I think it's
when I saw that she was that like militant
and
about,
I looked
like,
it up to see if it was a real book,
and then we can go
because
start reading
like the way she describes it is like very dark. But when I was looking it up, I saw a Reddit post.
I was done with that,
saying how that book.
I think what Yuri doesn't like. You like I said, you like read a book with her. You put your desk side by side.
Salvato's next game.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember. But yeah, she ends up giving you like her spare copy of that book, because she just so happens to have picked up a second copy, and happens to have it and can loan you one.
Oh, snaps!
Conveniently.
But wasn't it like a witch or something in it, or?
Yeah, and they end up reading it together, sitting on the floor.
Go ahead.
Like anime nerds do. And at one point, like they're sitting real close, and I forget who pulls out the chocolate.
Yeah. She's like, I just, I have a second
eating
copy.
chocolate.
I intended to read it again.
And like they're each holding one side of the book.
Okay.
So they only have one hand free. So I guess since she can't reach the chocolate, he grabs a piece and sticks it in her mouth. And I'm thinking, man, this guy just met her yesterday.
I think your character does.
Yeah, she apologizes a lot.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and suck on this. And then she's like embarrassed afterwards, like, I don't know, like I just was sorry, I wasn't paying attention, I didn't mean to, or whatever. And it's like, okay. Yeah, she does. And then I think after that, after you have your little one-on-one time, that's when you start sharing your poems, and you never get to see the poem that your character writes, but you kind of you are forced to show everyone your poem. So like the way you this is another part where you get some type of choice. Like you gotta show it to everyone, but you kind of get to choose the order. So you choose a character, then the first thing is they pop up on the screen, they talk about your poem and say, oh, I like it, or they don't like it, or blah, blah, blah. And then you can read their poem. In this, you get to actually read, and then you talk to them about their poem, and you kind of find out what's going on with them and what they were going for. And it was just like it was interesting, but like I kind of felt like at this point I wish there was more player agency, more choice that we could have. You know?
I mean, I guess you do kind of.
Because
you don't.
It's
you
just
don't
like
really
so
have
far
to
we've done the poem minigame,
like a specific
and you've
girl,
gotten
or
to
try
choose who you want to
just
look
kinda
at your
choose
poem,
words
but you don't
that you
even
wanna
get to
pick.
choose to actually respond or choose their kind of choice that you like your own personal take on the play or on the poem. You know,
Like as far as like just telling them how you feel about the poem, about their poem. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I guess that's kind of the nature of the genre.
well, no. I'm talking about not for the minigame, the poem minigame when you're showing the poems. You know, yeah.
Sayori, I can tell you just
It's just
wrote
like
this morning.
canned response. Yeah, it's to progress the story, but I kind of wish there was a little bit more player choice where I could be like, you know what, Yuri, I don't like this poem, or whatever, you know, or you know what, Monica, this is my favorite poem, or something like that, you know? Yeah. And yeah, so at the end of the day, then I guess it becomes a thing where they were just like, hey, like, you know what, we had so much fun sharing our poems that we should do this again tomorrow. And so everybody's like, yeah, my poem's going to be better this time, or blah, 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 you know, like I was just getting started. So again, you go home with Sayori, and you see each other off, and then it starts another
So
poem
from what I
mini
read,
game where you
'cause
kind
I
of
was
choose the
looking
girl
to
that you
see,
want to have the one-on-one
like the
time
different
with.
endings that
And
you
I
could
never could tell.
and it says that the only way to get
the
what is
game,
considered the best ending
if
is
it was
to
like
go back
cumulative,
and replay
so like
certain,
if you take into consideration the first day, and your choices that
and
day,
then,
so like if
play
you
it
had a
up
running
until
tally,
you
you know what I'm
impress
saying?
a specific person. So I think it's a cumulative, like, yeah.
Sections across all the days. Okay, because I couldn't tell because so like my first day, I kind of put points into everybody, but I most heavily leaned towards Natsuki. But then the second day, I went entirely into Sayori.
Yeah,
So at the end of the second day, I had more points overall in Sayori than I had in Natsuki. So the second day, I spent the quality, you know, private time with Sayori instead. And I was just wondering, like, is it just on a day-to-day, or if it's just cumulative? And I didn't know if you knew. So did you stick with Yuri at that point?
See, in my mind,
and yeah, this is from here on out. I was truly
in my
Sayori,
mind, I'm
I was
thinking
like, you know,
Sayori's
like,
trying to introduce
she's the
you to
homie,
some girls,
and you know her the
not
best.
like she was,
you know,
the one
and I was
who
like, oh, she
or
like
maybe it's
actually
because I
seems
was
like
always
she
bad at
digs
taking
you.
hints in high school.
Like, unlike the other girls, where it's just like, oh, you're here, you know, like I'm going to show you some attention. Not that, like,
yeah,
I don't think they dig you either, or dug you either. But I was just like, Sayori she was the day one, you know.
But yeah, I definitely didn't pick up on the fact that, you know, Sayori
See, I didn't see it that way.
Maybe up until like this is probably my second playthrough.
Hey, you and me both.
Like, you know what? Let me try to fix this.
I was playing the life I wanted to lead.
Poems.
Yeah. The very end. Gotcha. And yeah, so the second day you guys start sharing what you call it? You start sharing poems again, and I believe it's this day. At the end of the day, do they even? No, I think Monica reveals that there is a festival coming up, and she just kind of drops a hint about it. But I think that's the gist of it, and I think your writing style is starting to become apparent or whatever. And I think it kind of takes on the writing style of the girl you're most interested in, is what it seemed like for me. because a lot of like my people were saying the second day that my writing style was like, oh, this is kind of like Natsuki's
they
writing
noticed
style.
it,
But then
especially
the
Natsuki,
third day,
she was,
when I was,
I mean,
after
she was a hater. She was talking about, how you gonna just,
they were like, oh, like
try
this
to,
is Sayori's
you can't
style.
force yourself to be
Like,
deep as Yuri.
You guys spend
it
so
takes
much time together because you're friends.
This just looks
I can see
pathetic
why
or whatever.
you started
You're
to
trying
take
to be
some of
like
her
her.
writing style or whatever. So I was wondering if that happened when you were with Yuri, or did they notice that or mention that? She was that. hating. But yeah, again, same deal. End of the day, hey, let's write poems. You do the poem game or whatever.
I can't remember either, and I was trying to figure that out.
I think this is going to be your third day in the club.
Because she went through all the responsibilities, and
that's when they start to talk more about the festival, and Monica reveals that, hey, like, these are what we need to get done. I will be in charge of... I forgot what she was going to be in charge of, actually. Mm-hmm.
She was helping.
Except for hers, right? I think she was running the advertisements or whatever, because I know like Yuri was in charge of creating the decorations for the event, and then I think Natsuki was in charge of baking stuff for people when they come to the event. And what was Sayori in charge of? Yeah, she was helping Monica. So then I think you had to choose between. And I know for me, Sayori started getting kind of depressed and dark. And was she getting that way in your game?
Was that the day that Sayori leaves early?
And like, so her poem, like, we're usually cheery, and she was not really cheery anymore. And it was revealed. I think you had to kind of choose who you wanted to help out. And I think it was. It had to be one of the. Go ahead. No, actually, that's the next day. So yeah, I goofed. So I'm sorry. The next day, Sayori's in a bigger funk, and I think this is the day. So she leaves early, and it's. I think this is the day that you get to choose. Like, do you want to help out Natsuki? Do you want to help out? Because it's about to be the weekend. You want to help out Natsuki? You want to help out Yuri? Or do you want to go see what's up with Sayori? So I opted to help out Yuri because I was like, I don't really think that old girl needs help baking.
For me, when I went home...
What you don't need help with that. And I think you have the option
I still had time before Yuri was coming over. So I could go and visit Sayori.
I think you helped the girl first, right? Yeah.
Well, actually, no. Before that, did you not get this scene?
Yeah, that's right.
She's depressed.
That's right. So, yep.
Okay.
And then you go over to Sayori's, and you're like, "Oh, like it's quiet here. What's going on?" And then you discover that she's hung herself.
And
I know for me, because I was.
So yeah, in my game, the day that you're supposed to meet up with Yuri to work on decorations,
I got to talk to her beforehand.
You still have some time left before Yuri's supposed to come over. So
yeah.
So you
I got that scene
meet up with Sayori first
because she was. I didn't know if you got that because you weren't going with her,
and that's when she tells you she's been battling depression, and and then you also figure out that Monica has been giving her advice or talking to her. And
because she's supposed to come to your house.
Let me see. I'm trying to remember what else she said. But she tells you about that, and she's, and she's basically just like, I don't want you to go out of your way to try to care for me. That's kind of the problem. And so you just, you try to be hands-off.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You want to help her. Yeah, and
be there for her. Yeah, and I know for my game, she kind of reveals she has these feelings for you, but she's really depressed. So she's talking about like, I shouldn't feel
And then
this
all of a
way, but
sudden
I
Sayori
do, and
pops
blah
up
blah
in the
this and
driveway.
this. Then you kind of like, what's going on? Like, you know, like I want to be
And
here
then
for
she
you, blah blah
reveals
blah.
her
And then you
feelings,
kind
and
of
then she
you can make
asks,
the choice
"Hey,
like, I want to be here for your friend, or I love you, or whatever.
what do you think?"
Did you have that option?
And you have to tell her you love her or you're just friends. And according to the internet, either one you choose ends up with the same outcome. Mm-hmm.
Oh, see, that's not how it happens for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same result. Sure. And yeah, so then you end up uh
Man,
the only weird
yeah.
like
So
it was really
she
weird
has
because
some
like
kind
for
of
my
knife
game I
collection.
was like
I
going
mean,
with
like that would have been
Sayori
a
the
red
whole
flag for
time,
me.
so like
Her
we
just
had a
pulling out
really
like a
I was
decorative
trying to help
knife
her
like
out
that,
moment at her place.
and then it's also
Yuri
super
comes over
sharp.
and it just like it's like forget everything that just
And it
happened. It's like hardcore flirting and like I think she sucks on your finger when you cut yourself. Like you're bleeding and she puts your finger.
And this is where I kind of felt like you, where you were saying there was no kind of player agency before on what you could
nick
do
yourself, and then she instinctively just
a man
puts
takes it the wrong
your
way.
your whole ass finger in her mouth. You know, your blood. She wants to taste your blood. And I was like, yo, no way. I am not doing anything with this girl. And
I mean, that's kind of different though. Icing.
And to be fair, I looked it up, and I think if you were to choose Natsuki and you bake with her, I think she does the same thing. So I'm assuming like you maybe get some icing or something on your finger. And she sucks on that finger. And I mean, it's been 4 days instead of 2 days, Trevor. So like, but actually, yeah. And then Sayori shows up in your parking or your driveway, and you're talking to her and Yuri. So like Yuri leaves, you talk to Sayori, and I know in my game I told her, "Hey, I love you," blah blah blah, because that was the girl I was going for. And then I think you end up like she's like I'll like we'll see what happens, blah blah blah. And then school, I think it's that Monday, school starting up, and you're like, oh, where's Sayori? She's not up. Oh, I gotta wake her up. I'm like, I'm in charge of her life, or always helping her out. You go to her room to kind of wake her up, and she hung herself.
Yeah.
And so she's dead.
I saw the
and then at this point, the
the
game starts to glitch out.
I was just like,
and then your character's like, could I have saved her? And then the game ends.
Well, I'll wait till we
and
get
starts
to
over and sends you back to the main menu with all your previous save files erased. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought the game had actually messed up. I was like, "What's going on?" And yeah, so then the game starts up normally, and any text where Sayori would have shown up or whatever just becomes unreadable. It's just like illegible text. And the game keeps glitching, and they pretty much remove any references to Sayori. She's not in the game anymore. So instead, it's Monica that invites you to the club, and instead of it being we need 5 members in order for this club to be a thing, we need 4. So it's it's still Monica, now the new vice president. I take that back. I think the vice president initially was, in the first playthrough, was Sayori, but now it's Monica's the president, Yuri's the vice president, and then Natsuki is just a member. And so it's Monica inviting you, and then this is when the game gets really trippy, because like the character sprites have these weird glitches and stuff on them, and like the characters, like you can immediately see, because like we were saying, like Sayori is super cheerful and enthusiastic and wants everybody to get along. She's very positive. And I remember, like, during without her presence, you can see Yuri like and Natsuki snapping at each other.
Tilts,
and like,
and then one of them gets really big on the screen. And then every now and then you see Yuri, Monica like, kind of pop up
Natsuki
like in front of the text.
Yuri. Like, I'm trying to think. I had something written down, but I can't remember where I wrote it now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know, man. Like it was so like the first part of the game, like it was so boring. Like before the glitch, it was so boring. But then things start rolling and like not rolling, but going when like it gets way more interesting once the glitches are happening. Like characters are having like black spaces where their eyes used to be, or like blood, or like characters will glitch, so you're seeing like a character that appears as Sayori and Monica, or Sayori and
Oh yeah.
Natsuki. Even like the dialogue gets more interesting because like they made a mention there was some good ass writing in this game, and like I had to look some things up.
Yeah.
Like somebody said, like they made a joke to Monica that you like squid, right? And like she was like, "What? Why do I like squid?" And she was like, "Your name is because your name." And it was like I had to look it up because I'm like, what is this mean? Because Monica
And
literally
I think one
says
case earlier
also
was
that
when
joke
she,
makes no
like,
sense in
tells you to save your
translation.
game because you never know.
And then
when
I was
you
like,
might
wait,
wanna
what are they
change
talking
something.
about? So I looked it up, and Ika in Japanese is squid. So her name is like IKA because her name is MONIKA. And so I looked it up, and yeah, like her name is something squid in Japanese, and I was like, oh snaps! Like they're actually playing with, like they're breaking the fourth wall, and like it was exactly, yeah. Like every day, Monica gives you some advice, and it usually applies to you, the player. It's like fourth wall breaking as well. And then there's like because of the glitch screens and everything, like
Perfect
even that
example.
music, like Trevor was talking about
Have you
earlier,
seen the
with the
Us movie
carnival
trailer?
music being distorted, like the
I
creepy
got
carnival
five.
music where it's
Man,
distorted and
that
slowed
was
down or
perfect.
played with the traditional carnival music. The same thing was happening with the main menu music and like the music that was going throughout the game, where it was this very cheery game or cheery tune, and like you hear that throughout the entire game. It's pretty consistent. Yeah, yeah. The I got five on it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Where they just do a slight tweak and slow it down a little bit and make it go a little bit slower, and it gets a little bit more like
A
I don't
couple
want
of
to say
times.
bass in
I
it,
don't
but it's
think I
just
did it after
deeper,
the glitches started.
and it just sounds so creepy at that, and it works so well, and uh I don't know. To me, the parts where the game and the text get glitched are hilarious because you'll see something like where it becomes illegible, and sometimes, like if you go to the history, did you ever see that, Trevor? Where like sometimes there's like there was a long stream of like illegible text that you couldn't read, and sometimes if you went to the history, you could see the glitch text,
It
but
goes
instead
there.
now it was legible. And like there was one part in particular, which was a little bit later on, where it was
Oh man, that was
actually. You
wild.
know what? I'll hold that. I'll tell you in a little bit. Uh, yeah, like it. It just. Yeah, like I mean, it gets dark. Like Natsuki accuses Yuri of cutting herself, and yeah, like I know at one point Nasuki's like fucking Monica. Like my dad would beat the shit out of me if he found my manga or something like that. And it's
I
just
remember the one where
like
they
this
have
girl's like this cute
like the
innocent
mouth on
girl,
her
and now
face
she's talking like this. Like what's going
when she's
on?
talking.
And there's a point where they give Yuri like these creepy eyes, where it's like it reminds me of like kind of like SpongeBob, where they kind of break the fourth wall. So like instead of like where it's like these static 2D eyes, like they show like actual eyes, and they're just moving in her head. Do you remember that part? It's yeah, and it's just, yeah, this is so weird, and yeah, like at this point, like it's really interesting to see how the game changes from being like this cheery game to the super glitched and dark game, and like you can kind of see the characters spiral. So like Yuri and Natsuki's relationship kind of spirals, and they go at each other's throat, and without Sayori there, there's nobody there to like snap them out of it. So I know at one point Yuri leaves, and then the game kind of cuts, and she comes back, and she's like bloodied and has cuts all over herself. And then there's like another part where you're talking to Natsuki and you can just see her nap snatch, and then the game glitches and restarts, and then you're just talking to her again. And it gets crazy, and I think you kind of like you get back to the point where the festival is coming up again with these three characters, and you have to choose who you want to choose with, and the girls are going back and forth at it, and then the game forces you to choose Monica. Like the mouse literally is just hovers over her name, and you try to move it to the other girl, it auto corrects back to Monica, back to Monica, back to Monica, and it it just it's so crazy how it plays with you. And I think I'm trying to think the characters start to become like they spiral more, and I think at one point like Yuri wants to talk to you at the before the weekend that you're going to go spend time with Monica, and she shows you this stained, illegible poem with like it's bloodstained, and like
and that was why she
it's just
herself.
like you can't read anything, and you can tell she spiraled all the way, and she basically confesses her love to you.
That's when she breaks out another knife.
Like, I think you get to choose: do you want to be her friend or not, or like her lover? And what did you choose, Trevor? Because this is your girl. Oh, yeah. Yep. And I told her, nah, we're cool. We're just friends. And she goes hams on her guts. And yeah, so like this girl, like, you just stabs her, some plunges the knife into her a couple times. And it's like you're in the classroom. And you literally see like her body with the blood and everything. And she's just sprawled out on the floor or laying on this across this desk. And then the game, you're you're forced to see this dead character the entire day, the next day, yeah, the glitch dialogue, and it's just glitch dialogue running the entire time, and you can kind of see the like the sunset on her face. Then it's nighttime and it's dark in there, and you're just staring at this corpse. And then it's the sun, and like you spend the entire weekend looking at this character, and like the part, Trevor, that I was talking about.
Just me.
If you go to the history at this point, because the entire text is illegible, and I thought maybe the game. I'm just still Monica, thinking like sometimes Monica. This game is glitching up or whatever. If you go to the history, you see Monica saying, "Hi, welcome to our club." Blah blah blah. We have 3 members. It's so and so Yuri, so and so Natsuki, and me, Monica. Just be with me. Just be with me. And it's just repeated and repeated. It is so creepy. And exactly. And yeah, so then the characters Natsuki and Monica show up, the files and she's like, "Oh my god, like I'm sorry, like you were here this entire weekend just looking at this body?" And then she just starts talking to you, and she's like, "Oh, I'll fix this real quick." And you see like a what do you call it? Like a directory? What is it called? You can see the directory in the top left, a window pop up, and you can see Monica log in and then delete the character files for Yuri and Natsuki, and then the game restarts again, and then and like you lose your save file and you start a new game, and you're just sitting in a room with no chairs or with no desks. It's just like 2 windows, and you're just like it's pictures of the galaxy moving, and just Monica sitting across from you, and she's basically talking to you, and she's like basically talking to you, the player, and not even the character, and she's basically like, "Yeah, well, obviously you just wanted to be with me, and I just wanted to be with you, so now we have the rest of eternity to be together."
Yeah.
And I think at that point,
so
like, quote unquote, the game is over.
That,
like she
has
these
that if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a bunch of spaces,
whatever, where like she talks to you maybe about every 45 seconds and says something to you. And at that point,
there's another point. I can't remember where
that's it
tells
like,
you.
I think. Did you have the game in Steam?
On how exactly to delete characters from the game?
Go ahead.
Like, oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So Monica, she basically tells you, "Oh, I see you're playing the game on
And the
Steam.
scary part
Well, all
before
you need to
that
do to
is
delete a
when
character,
she
because this
sees
is what I
like
did for
she
Monica or
says
for
like, "Oh, I
Natsuki
see
and
you're playing
Yuri,
on
is
Steam.
go to the
So
game
your
directory,
real
go to the
name isn't so
character
and so.
folder,
Is
delete just
actually,"
like
and then
that,
she
and they're
tells you your
gone. And that
Steam
was just
name,
me and
and I'm
you.
like, "Whoa,
And
this
she
is
tells you
invasive."
what she did, which like basically that's how you have to
Oh,
continue in the game.
so my
So
name,
then,
like the game save that I chose, my name was Lyric, but then my Steam name is Lyric Unsung. And so when
yeah.
she says, "Oh, I see your name is actually Lyric Unsung," I was just thinking, "Oh, whoa!" Like,
Oh well, see, I typed in. I mean, my Steam name has my first name in it, so I didn't have that. I didn't have that. uh huh. Uh huh. Yeah. So yeah, I named my character Marcus, and my Steam name is Marcus17. So she didn't say Marcus17. She just said Marcus. But yeah, it goes there, and yeah, she kind of admits that she was making Sayori more and more depressed, and she said she was amplifying Yuri's obsessive personality, which is what was causing her to become more unlikable. So the character would the player would focus on Monica instead and lose interest in Yuri as a love interest. Um, yeah, and she basically reveals like I'm in love with you, the player, not the you, the player, not the character you're playing as. And basically, she kind of tells you how to do the thing, but in a slick way that basically like this is what I did, which is to prompt you to do what she did to delete her because she's the only character left in that folder. And then when you delete it up, once you boot the game back up. She panics because she realized that she's been deleted from the game, and she lashes out after you, but confesses that she loves you and expresses regret for everything she did. And then she restores the other games and removes herself from the game. And then now you start the game over again, and you're playing with just the three girls. Like she's removed from the menu screen. So it's just the other three girls. And then the game starts back over the same way with Sayori talking to you. And basically, she tells you, it goes from you guys walking to school together. It skips the day at school, and it's at the end of the day, and you guys are in the club together. She's the president. And you find out that Yuri and Natsuki are still alive, cool. And then you find out that
yeah, that's when
she knows
like
Sayori
her
knows
piano
everything
lessons
that
come
happened
into
in the
play.
game, and she knows what happened to Monica, and she intends to do the same exact thing that Monica did. And so Monica immediately hops into the directory, intervenes, and deletes Sayori from the game. And then I think at that point it's Monica sings a song to you, right? Yeah, because she had been taking piano lessons, and she like there's an actual like the whole game is just text. This is the only time you hear a voice, and it's a girl singing this song over the tune of the
Yeah.
game, the tune that the game has been playing the whole time, and then Monica slowly deletes the game, and at the end there's a credit from her. In the end credits, you see a note from her that's stating that she disbanded the literature club because no happiness can be found in it. And that's how my game ended. Your game ended the same way, Trevor? Okay. There's a there's another uh there's some other alternate endings depending on like if you delete Sayori, I'm sorry, if you delete Monica's character file earlier than you're supposed to, like if you do it before starting the game, Sayori becomes the default leader of the club, and she basically hijacks controls after she panics, deletes all the characters, and closes the game. And opening the game results in a black screen followed by an image of her hanging herself, and then staying on the screen for 10 minutes, it will reveal a message that everyone can now be happy. So you have to stay on this image of her being hung for 10 minutes in order to see that. And then there's another alternate ending which says if the player has viewed all the optional scenes in a single playthrough, which requires you to save and load a previous point. So basically have a special moment with each of the girls beforehand, before witnessing her suicide, Sayori's suicide. She accepts the nature of her reality, tearfully expresses her gratitude to the player, and trying to make all the girls happy. She bids goodbye, hoping that the player will visit once again, and concludes that all the girls love the player before deleting the game. And then the song, the end credit song plays, and the player is presented with a thank you note from the developer, Dan Salvato.
It really involves.
So this game goes places.
it gets the player involved in the game, which is I can't remember
what
the last
were your
time
I guess closing thoughts for this game. What did you think about this game?
I wasn't just, or at least the majority of the first part of the game, you are just kind of clicking through it, but then it throws you through that loop, and you are like an active participant in this game, and not just following the yeah. And I was not expecting that, especially just looking at some of the promo for the game. Because I think the hard thing about talking about this game is the fact that you can't really talk about it without spoiling it.
By the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you could talk around it, but it is pretty difficult to be like, oh, like, what did you think at this point? Because without being descriptive or saying like after the reveal, like it's pretty boring and kind of like forgettable. It's a lot of character setting up. I really dug this game. I wasn't a fan of how much you couldn't do, I guess you could say, in the beginning. It was very boring, but I really like this is very similar to the last game we played, Psychonauts, where I really enjoyed the writing. I thought the writing, I mean, granted, like, there's nothing else to this besides the writing, but I thought, like, I was kind of dreading initially, like, having to play each day over again, especially after, that first initial reset of Sayori. I was like, oh, these characters are going to just say the same stuff, and I'm going to have to go through the motions again. And then I'm like, oh, it got way darker, and there's like way more tongue-in-cheek and way more references. And like you said, like the references to outside things. Like they mentioned Shel Silverstein, the guy that wrote the, he was a famous poet. I think, what's her name, mentioned him, Yuri. And like he's he's a really famous poet, like somebody that I read when I was a kid, and they like mentions to that. They made the mention, like you said, to a game that they're going to develop in the future. They make mentions to things that you, the player, have to do or whatever. So I thought that was super cool, and like I said, the super subverts like my expectations as far as what is possible in this genre, even though this is a genre that I am a newbie to, like
I definitely
I'm very
see
much
the version of this
game
to where it's like predominantly
playing
like
more games and kind of seeing like what
poetry
this
slam style poem
came from, see the origins of this genre,
and then talking about
this, I'm like, oh man,
police
brutality
and discrimination
about, and like what kind of ways they play with this genre now.
It's happening now.
Oh, it's rap battles at that point, dude.
Yeah, because I think y'all told me.
Yeah, I'll play that game too.
It starts getting weird after the first hour, but I'm maybe like 2.5 hours into it.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like it started. This is a slow burn for me because I definitely I would say the game takes a little bit to get into. I would say maybe about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and. Yeah. It just depends on how fast you read, because I had to, at a certain point, I just had it auto-scroll, because I was just tired of clicking. And, yeah, it took a while. It's a slow burn, but once you get going, then it gets going. Because I know I definitely was dreading, like, I gotta, knock out another day in this game or whatever. But then, like, once I got to when it got going, I was knocking out a couple days, because it was very entertaining, and, like, I mean, it was disturbing, but it was like interesting too. You know, like it was like, oh, like what are they going to do now? So
I honestly, I
really, really dug this game.
I would recommend this game to certain people I know.
Was interesting, and I don't know.
Play
like,
games
is this
like
a game that you would recommend to people, or like how would you? Because I mean, I'm assuming most people would be in the same boat as me, as far as not
just
super
like
well versed in a visual novel.
You know, just a
you think
typical
this is a good like
recommendation
entry visual novel, or
this probably wouldn't be one I would suggest. Yeah, because then they come back to, they're gonna come back to me like, oh, what is this you gave me?
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about most of it, man. This game is wild.
It's hard. yeah. It's like you're gonna see some things. Yeah, what the hell? Definitely.
I was kind of expecting that.
Well, you got anything else that you want to say about this game? Got any other? Yeah. I know. I remember. Initially, I told Dante too. The one thing I was kind of like, I don't like how the characters were generic anime. You know, like there's the shy girl, there's the cheery girl, and that's what he kind of said too. Is like they want to subvert your expectations, so they need to start with a familiar point.
Lends itself to the story too, because at one point, Marq
he wasn't a fan of anime,
like she designed
how,
these girls
like he wanted
to be
subvert
like
expectations.
very
like that
cutesy,
makes sense. But I know initially getting into the game, I was like, why do we have to play with these generic anime characters? This game is kind of, it makes it boring or takes away from it. But by the end, I was like, I completely understand why they did it, and I'm cool with it.
That's kind of a part of the story, too. I think that's it for me.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me at Lyric Unsung on Xbox, PlayStation, Twitter, pretty much everywhere.
Yeah. Well, you got anything else? Cool. All right. Well, I think that's all I got. Where can people find you at? Cool.
Really?
You can find me at Potato Salad on Twitter, and you can find us being myself, Trevor, Greg, and potentially Dante, at mcheckpoints on Twitter, as well as facebook.com/misscheckpoints. One other thing, Trevor, did you know Monica has a Facebook or Twitter page? Yes. If you, because she mentioned it in the thing, I followed it. It's at Lil LILMONIX3. So Lil Monty X3. And it's hi, I'm Monica, high school devil and president of Literature Club. Poetry is life. And yeah, there's only been like 40 tweets, and like they kind of, I mean, they hadn't tweeted anything since like early spring of last year, but then they started tweeting again in February of this year, right before Valentine's Day, and people post a lot of like, you know, fan art. But yeah, like reading the tweets are really funny because they're like just like she would say, you know. So yeah, it was. I appreciate the how they're trying to do this. So yeah, well, like I said, we got a little bit of change coming. I think with Dante being gone, we decided to kind of change up what we're going to do. So we're still doing Grim Fandango for this month, but I think what we're going to do, instead of splitting it up into two parts, you know, a first part and a second part, we're going to try to condense it and just cover, the three of us, a single episode covering the entire game. And so we'll probably put that out towards the end of the month. So maybe in another 2 weeks or so to give us time to like play through the game and beat it. I think we'll go back to our we'll do our regular way next month because it's 2 games we're playing, but we'll see how we feel about the show after doing the Grim Fandango one, because we may do that for Trevor's game as well, for Killer 7. But stay tuned for those, and I guess with that, we're Miss Checkpoints and we're out. Peace.